Yes, welcome everyone. The Marijuana Time Show. I am your host, Joe Klare. It is November 30th, 2017. Another great show lined up for you. Make sure you go check out myself and other great writers over at marijuanatimes.org. All the latest in the cannabis community and industry and beyond that you need to know about. Make sure you go check out marijuanatimes.org for all of that information. You can find these videos there as well. You can share them with your friends on your various social media networks. Also subscribe to our YouTube and our Facebook pages for the videos as well. Pardon me, I am still fighting now over a week. I've been battling the flu for the last few days. I've been battling the remnants of the flu. Just when I think it's gone, when I think I'm ready to go, it's back at me again. I'm here for you, bring you the cannabis news you need to hear about, including today. We're going to talk about people and their thoughts on a poll in New York on texting and driving, as well as using marijuana and driving. We also have a story out of Colorado about some county commissioners challenging Governor John Hickenlooper on his stance on marijuana, and also what's going on with CBD oil in Indiana as well. First, of course, I need to tell you that the proud sponsor of the Marijuana Time Show is NatureSideCannabis.com. Organic, all natural pesticides. If you're a legal cannabis grower in one of many states where you can be that now, one, you don't want to be selling a product that has a lot of harmful chemicals in it. You don't want to harm your customers. You don't want to harm the people, especially medical patients that are going to be getting these products. So you want them, you want to control your pests, obviously, but you want to use all natural pesticides like Natureside Cannabis and NatureSideCannabis.com. They can also, and number two, help you become regulatory compliant. There's a lot of regulations now in places like California and Colorado and Washington and Oregon and beyond. If you want to be up to date when it comes to the pesticide portion of those regulations, then you want NatureSideCannabis.com. As I said, a proud sponsor of the Marijuana Time Show. Our first story from marijuanatimes.org. People think texting is more dangerous than being under the influence of marijuana while driving. This is a story that I wrote over at marijuanatimes.org. According to a new survey conducted by the Harris poll, now this was nationwide. Why do I think this was in New York? I don't know. Maybe I'm conflated in my mind with another poll out of New York. Well, in any case, Americans think it's more dangerous to text and drive than it is to be high on cannabis while driving. Now, the gap here is not, super huge. I mean, 99% feel that using social media while driving is dangerous. 98% say texting and driving is dangerous. And the number falls slightly to 91% when people are asked about using marijuana and being high on marijuana and driving. On the other hand, only 40% of respondents thought driving while high is a contributing factor to more motor vehicle accidents. Now, obviously, on the surface, you look at this, it's a no-brainer. I mean, something that involves taking your eyes off the road, the way social media and texting does, is going to have inherent disadvantages over something that, even though you may be high on marijuana, you can still see the road. And you're still looking, so you still have a fighting chance to avoid whatever's coming in front of you. Now, having said that, of course, a lot goes into what happens when people drive while high. As I point out in the article, if you take someone who has no tolerance for marijuana and they smoke a little bit of marijuana, they're going to have a harder time driving in those conditions than someone who has a high tolerance for marijuana and then uses or ingests a lot of marijuana. Unlike alcohol, a lot has to do with tolerance when it comes to marijuana. And there are a lot of people out there, for better or worse, and they prove it every day, who are perfectly capable of driving while high. Does that mean they should do it? No. Those are, a lot of people like to say, well, if you say that people can drive high and there are some people are able to do that, then that means people should do that. That's not what I'm saying. And that's not what people who say that are saying. They're two different things. Just because you can do something and just because some people can do something doesn't mean you should run out and do it. If you can avoid in any way, shape, or form being on any kind of mind-altering substance while you're driving, that's what you should do. You should avoid at all costs putting yourself and anyone else on the roadway, or near the roadway for that matter, in danger. You should always strive to do that. Now, of course, we have the other problem when it comes to marijuana and driving is how to judge impairment. Right now, it's a subjective thing. It may always be a subjective thing. You can't, like if you can test somebody's blood for alcohol and know how much alcohol they have in their blood. If you test for somebody who has to see how much THC they have in their blood, it means nothing. Someone with a lot of THC in their blood and a high tolerance can drive much better than someone with little THC in their blood and a low tolerance. Plus, THC, as everybody knows, stays in your system for a long time. If you smoke a couple joints at a party on a Saturday night, and then you're driving to work on Monday, you have THC in your blood. You may have a lot of THC in your blood. You may have smoked a lot Saturday night. It may have been, you may have hit 20 blunts that passed by your face. Does that mean you can't drive to work Monday morning? Of course it doesn't. You're fine to drive to work Monday morning. It's 36 hours later after all. But it's still heavily in your system. You may cross whatever threshold that a state has when it comes to that, but it doesn't mean you're impaired. So it's going to be a problem the technology may fix. Technology may not fix it. As I said, it may always be a subjective thing, which will leave it in the hands of law enforcement and quote-unquote experts, which is its own can of worms. But for now, that's what we have. This next story, KRDO.com. El Paso County Commissioners challenged the governor on marijuana, be Governor John Hickenlooper. Now, the weird thing about this story is it's kind of surreal because if you know anything about the history of John Hickenlooper and his evolution on this issue, when Amendment 64 was being debated and voted on in 2012, John Hickenlooper was against it. He said that they should not legalize marijuana for recreational purposes in Colorado. And he campaigned against it. Over the years, he's evolved somewhat on the issue. He has pointed out that a lot of the things that people said were going to happen, a lot of the sky is falling type of stuff that people said was going to happen, has not happened. And he's right. It hasn't. But apparently these El Paso County commissioners were taking John Hickenlooper to task recently for being too rosy and too lenient when it comes to the picture he paints about marijuana. A few commissioners got a chance to talk or at least one got a chance to ask and talk to John Hickenlooper about this issue. It was during an answer and question session. There's a big annual statewide Colorado counties conference where over 200 county commissioners gathered. The governor was there, all in Colorado Springs. So this guy, Longinos, those are probably all wrong. Gonzalez Jr. got up, pardon me, with the coughing. I'll shake this yet. So he gets up during the question and answer session. And he says, quote, I think the state has minimized a lot of these issues, mostly because marijuana brings in tax revenue. I mean, these issues meaning the issues of, whether or not there are problems with legalizations or downplaying the so-called problems with legalization. He continued. So my question is, do you believe that a lot of negative trends are due to the legalization of recreational marijuana? Well, the governor took issue with this question. He said, in terms of the state glossing over any consequences of marijuana just to get tax money, that's just nonsense, Hickenlooper said. And we've been absolutely rigorous to the best of our capability in keeping the marijuana money and using it for the unintended consequences of drug use. Another commissioner later in this news story had this to say. He said, quote, I recently heard him say he thinks there are fewer drug dealers in Colorado now as the result of legalization of marijuana, Waller said. That seems to fly in the face of what we've seen here in El Paso County. Now, one thing you'll notice about this story is none of them have any stats to back up anything they say. They talk about the negative consequences of marijuana and legalization, yet they don't mention what those are or where they're getting this information from. Now, this guy says he's seen in El Paso County, I guess there's more drug dealers First of all, how is that possible? And to be fair, if John Hickenlooper says there's less drug dealers, how is it possible to quantify that? How is it possible to quantify in any way how many drug dealers there are in Colorado right now? How many sell marijuana, pardon me, versus how many sold marijuana before 2012 or before retail sales started in 2014? How do you get that number? How would you know how many illegal marijuana dealers there were then versus now? It seems impossible to me to know either way, but both sides want to pretend like they know. I will say this. Logic dictates that as legalization takes hold and supply increases in the legal market, and as much as the legal price competes with or is under the black market price of cannabis in Colorado, it's going to draw more people to the legal market. There are inherent advantages with the legal market. You go to a nice, respectable business. They're open. You walk down the street. You walk in a store. You're not looking over your shoulder about where the popo is, as the kids say. You buy what you need. You can talk to someone who's knowledgeable about it. You can buy different kinds. You have more variety. There's edibles. There's vaporizer pens, so on and so forth. There's so many reasons why someone would rather walk into a nice, well-lit, clean store than have to go to their dealer's house in his mom's basement and talk to him about his CD collection for 2 hours, just get an eighth. But so logic would dictate that the more people come to the legal market, the less people are going to the illegal market. This is going to cut down on the profits in the illegal market. This is going to cut down on the incentive to be in the illegal marijuana market. And that's going to result in less people selling marijuana legally. Now, there's no stats for that because there's no drug dealer stats. There's no illegal marijuana dealer stats in any state, in any city, in any town, anywhere. Because it's illegal. They hide that. They don't want to be known. They're not going to be part of a statistic if they can help it. Now you can say that, well, more drug dealers are being arrested and more is being seized, and that tells you nothing. Tells you nothing. Maybe this guy means in El Paso County that more people were being arrested for selling marijuana illegally. Okay, let's say that's true. So what? It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing as far as how many drug dealers or illegal marijuana dealers there are or aren't in El Paso County or Colorado or in the United States. It's all ridiculous. There's a lot of politician posturing. Go back to El Paso County. John Hickenlooper, go back to the governor's mansion and do what you need to do. Don't talk at each other and then say, oh, well, it's for the people when we're trying to solve, all the unintended awful consequences that come from marijuana legalization. What are those? Spell those out and tell us what the problem is and how you came to the conclusion that that was a problem, and then we can talk about that. This is just vague politicians jabbering back and forth. Who cares? Shut up. Get back to work. Is there stuff going on in El Paso County? Apparently it's falling apart because they legalized marijuana. This last story is from IndyStar.com. CBD oil containing THC must be removed from Indiana stores in 60 days, according to Governor Holcomb of Indiana. Governor Eric Holcomb is directing state excise police to resume checking stores for cannabidiol, or CBD, products after Attorney General Curtis Hill issued an opinion declaring them illegal in Indiana. State excise police. You see where this story's going. Stores will have 60 days to either sell or pull products from their shelves. In a statement, Holcomb said excise police will, quote, perform normal periodic regulatory spot checks of CBD oil products. Put it in the layman's term what this means. In layman's terms, there are, quote unquote, police officers that are paid by the taxpayers of Indiana. They're going to go into stores to make sure that nobody is selling CBD products that have any kind of THC in them whatsoever, even if it's the 0.3% or less that characterizes the THC level in hemp. Now, Holcomb said, because CBD oil has been sold in Indiana for several years, the excise police will use the next 60 days to educate, inform, and issue warnings to retailers so there's a reasonable period of time for them to remove products that contain THC. He said that the timeline provides state lawmakers an opportunity to review existing CBD oil laws, including labeling requirements, before product confiscations began. This becomes such a normal part of our lives that we don't give it a whole lot of thought. But as I said, taxpayer-funded police are going to be going into stores, into retail shops to check out to see if they have CBD products. They have trace amounts of THC in them. Now, some will say, hey, that's a good use of resources. That's a good use of taxpayer money. I would disagree. I think it is not in any way, shape, or form should taxpayer money be used on this ridiculousness. Now, some of the politicians are looking into expanding the CBD law in Indiana to cover these products, which even then, they're still illegal under federal law. I don't know. The ridiculousness, it seems, never ends. Of course, I wouldn't be sitting here doing all this, talking about all this, if there wasn't so much ridiculousness surrounding this issue. If there weren't so many problems with things like legislation and lack thereof, in this case, a lot of waste. A lot of waste. What crimes are going unsolved in Indiana because the salary had to be paid to the excise police to go check Johnny's gas station down the road to see if there's CBD products in it. Who knows? Again, something you can't quantify. How many crimes were committed? How many crimes were unsolved? How many crimes could have been solved if the resources had been directed at something more important? Let's put it that way. We'll never know. This has been the Marijuana Times Show. I've been your host and continue to be your host, Joe Klare. It's November 30th, 2017. Thanks to NatureSideCannabis.com, our awesome sponsor. Go check them out. Organic, all-natural pesticides, NatureSideCannabis.com. Thanks, everybody, for listening, for sharing the show, comment, like, all that stuff. Check us out on iTunes as well. I will get rid of this cough. I will kick this flu once and for all. Maybe in a couple weeks. Stay tuned. We'll find out. We're on iTunes, audio podcast now. Search Apple Podcasts and iTunes, whatever you call it, to search Marijuana Times to find the show. And if you want to sponsor the show, email us at info@marijuanatimes.org. Till next time, thanks, everybody.